Welcome, BS Accountancy students, to your ultimate MAS explainer. Listen, I know you're staring down the barrel of the LECPA, and if you're in your second or third year, well, the pressure's already on, right? So today, we're doing something different. We are totally ditching the rote memorization. Instead, we're going to hack your brain for true 3-year retention on a massively important topic, cost volume profit analysis, specifically Quiz 6 on margin of safety and managing uncertainty. Let's get into it.
Okay, so I want you to ask yourself a real-world question right now. How much can sales drop before a company actually goes bankrupt? Seriously, stop thinking like a student just trying to pass a quiz for a second and start thinking like a CEO who's desperately trying to keep their business alive. Because understanding this exact business reality, that's how you're going to conquer the board exams without just blindly memorizing formulas. You really need to feel the business impact of these numbers. Here's our quick roadmap for today. Number 1. The cushion, margin of safety. Number 2, the crystal ball, managing uncertainty. Number 3, the math, expected monetary values. And finally, number 4, the anchor, LCPA study hacks.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the cushion, margin of safety. We are demystifying the break-even buffer.
Look, here's the formal definition you'll see straight from your reviewers. The margin of safety is the maximum amount by which actual or expected sales can drop before a company incurs an operating loss. But, okay, instead of thinking of this as just another MAS definition you need to highlight in your textbook, I want you to literally visualize it. Think of it as the actual physical distance between your current sales and that terrifying break-even point where you start bleeding money. It is basically your ultimate safety net.
Check out how beautifully simple the math actually is when you just look at it logically. The logic flows seamlessly from units to currencies like pesos or dollars, and then finally to percentages. Notice a pattern? You are always, and I mean always, just taking your actual or expected sales and subtracting the break-even point. And to get the ratio, you literally just take that peso cushion and divide it by your actual sales. That's it. So don't memorize 3 disconnected formulas, just drill actual minus break-even into your brain and apply it to whatever unit the exam throws at you.
Let's look at a quick example from the Horngren source materials. They were looking at a GMAT prep package business and calculated a margin of safety percentage of 37.5%. But what does that actually mean in the real world? Well, it means your revenues would literally have to crash by almost 40% before you suffer a single peso of operating loss. And this brilliantly illustrates why this metric gives management such massive confidence. I mean, a 37.5% drop in sales, that's a catastrophic market event. So knowing you can survive it, that's incredible peace of mind.
Before we jump to the next part, let's engage your brain with a quick active recall prompt. Imagine a competitor attacks your market share tomorrow by offering a flat 10% discount. Does your current margin of safety give you the flexibility to react? Well, if your cushion's large, yeah, you can easily match their price drop. But if your cushion is tiny, you might be forced to hold your price and lose volume, which pushes you dangerously close to that dreaded break-even point.
Moving right along to Section 2, the crystal ball, managing uncertainty, shifting from guarantees to probabilities. Okay, you really need to pivot your thinking here. Standard CVP analysis, the stuff you learn first, it assumes total certainty. It assumes your selling prices, fixed costs, and variable costs are totally known and completely constant. But let's be real, life isn't constant. Uncertainty recognizes that actual amounts are absolutely going to deviate from your expected amounts. So when the board exam inevitably throws wild variables at you, you have to rely on decision models to make the right choices under all that pressure. To solve these uncertainty problems on the exam without completely panicking, you need to chunk the process down into these 5 logical steps from our source material. First up, figure out your exact goal, like, say, maximizing operating income. Second, list out your options, or alternative actions. Third, identify mutually exclusive events. Things that can happen, but definitely not at the exact same time. Fourth, assign probabilities to those events. And finally, fifth, map out the entire set of possible outcomes. If you follow this exact sequence every time, honestly, the most complex probability question just becomes a simple step-by-step checklist.
All right, Section 3, the math, expected monetary values. We are calculating the weighted average of the future.
The absolute most crucial point to remember here is this. Expected value is really just the weighted average of all possible outcomes, where the exact probability of each outcome serves as the weight. Seriously, when you see that intimidating phrase, expected value, on your test paper, I want you to immediately translate it in your head to weighted average. It's the same thing. You're simply balancing the potential income against the actual likelihood of it happening.
Let's walk through this really brilliant breakdown of a textbook sales example. So, imagine there's a 60% chance you have a pretty slow day and sell only 30 units, giving you $400 of income. But there's a 40% chance you have a fantastic day, selling 60 units and making $2,800. So how on earth do you plan for that? You just multiply the probabilities by the outcomes. 0.60 times 400 is 240. 0.40 times 2,800 is 1,120. You add those two up and boom, we predict an expected value of $1,360. And that right there is the mathematically sound number you're going to use to make your business decision.
And please remember this crucial piece of business logic straight from the Horn Grid text. A bad outcome does not mean a bad decision was made. You use expected values to make the most mathematically logical choice based on the information you actually have at the time. Look, even if bad luck strikes and you hit that 60% slow day, if the expected value was highest for that specific strategy, your decision process was completely flawless. Remember, the board exam tests your process, not your hindsight.
Which brings us to our final section, number 4, the Anchor LECPA Study Hacks. This is your bullet review for 3-year retention.
Seriously, grab your phone and screenshot these retention hacks right now. These are your ultimate mental shortcuts. First, treat margin of safety purely as your breathing room. Second, apply the rule of 3. If you calculate MOS, always be ready to express it in units, pesos, and percentages, completely instinctively. Third, translate expected value to weighted average the exact second you read it. And finally, the risk reality. Remember from your reviewers that high fixed costs create a high degree of operating leverage. Basically, that means your income is hypersensitive to sales drops, which makes your margin of safety infinitely more critical.
So as you review these notes tonight, I want you to step right back into that executive chair and ask yourself this one question. If you were the CEO, what margin of safety percentage would actually let you sleep soundly without constantly worrying about bankruptcy? And how would you use probability models to guarantee it? Keep that CEO mindset alive. Connect the logic instead of just memorizing. And you won't just pass the LECPA, you are absolutely going to crush it. Keep studying smart, guys, and I'll see you in the next explainer.